The knock on the door was not loud, but it was strong enough to destroy my life. I was standing in my kitchen, stirring a pot of soup, when the sound came again. Knock. Knock. Slow. Firm. Confident. Like someone who already owned the place. I wiped my hands on my apron and walked to the door. My knees hurt, as usual. Old age has a way of reminding you with every step. When I opened the door, two strangers stood there. One was a tall man in a dark suit, holding a file. The other was a woman with a clipboard and a forced smile. "Good afternoon, ma'am," the man said politely. "We're here regarding the house." I frowned. "What about my house?" The woman glanced at her papers. "We're scheduled to inspect it today." "Inspect it for what?" I asked. The man hesitated, then said the words that stopped my heart. "The new owners." The pot fell from my hand and crashed onto the floor. "New owners?" I whispered. The woman nodded. "Yes. The house was sold last week." Sold. I felt dizzy. My ears rang. My legs trembled so badly I had to grab the door to stay standing. "That's not possible," I said. "This is my home. I live here." The man cleared his throat. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but the documents were signed. Everything is legal." The world went quiet. In that silence, one thought screamed inside my head. My son. Before I continue, please listen carefully. If you enjoy emotional and powerful stories like this, please subscribe to this channel. Like this video and turn on the notification bell so you never miss stories that will touch your heart and open your eyes. Also, tell me in the comments where you are watching from. I want to know who is standing with me today. Now let me tell you how my own child sold the house I built with my life. And why my reaction shocked everyone. This house was not just walls and a roof. It was my life. I raised my only child here. I cried here. I prayed here. I buried my husband from this house. Every corner held memories. Every crack in the wall told a story of sacrifice. After my husband died, life became hard. Very hard. I worked morning and night. I cleaned offices. I washed clothes for people who never remembered my name. Some days, I went to bed hungry just to make sure my child ate. This house was our safety. Years later, my son grew up and got married. That was when peace slowly left my home. His wife entered our lives with soft words and a sweet smile, but her eyes were always watching, measuring, judging, calculating. At first I tried. I cooked her favorite meals. I gave her space. I stayed quiet when she complained. But nothing was ever enough. "This house is too old. Why don't we live somewhere better? Why is everything still in your mother's name?" These words did not come to me directly. They came through whispers. Late-night conversations I overheard while walking past their room. Phone calls that stopped when I entered. Slowly, my son changed. He stopped sitting with me in the evenings. He stopped asking how my body felt. He stopped calling this place our home. One evening, I heard something that made my hands shake. "When she's gone," his wife said quietly, "all of this will finally be ours." I stood behind the door, frozen. Gone. I told myself I misunderstood. I told myself my son would never allow such thinking. I was wrong. Weeks later, my son visited alone. His shoulders were heavy. His eyes avoided mine. "We need to talk," he said. My heart sank. He spoke about money problems. About pressure. About how his wife was unhappy. About how they needed a better life. "I just need you to trust me," he said softly. I trusted him. That was my biggest mistake. One morning, he brought papers. "These are just documents," he said quickly. "So I can help manage things if anything happens to you." I read the first page, but the words were confusing. My eyes were tired. My head hurt. Behind him, his wife stood with her arms crossed. You trust your own child, don't you? She said. I signed. 2 weeks later, strangers stood at my door. That was the day I learned the truth. My son sold my house. The house I paid for. The house I suffered for. The house I planned to die in. I called him with shaking hands. What is happening? I cried. They say my house is gone. There was silence on the line. Then he said, please don't shout. My chest burned. Tell me this is a lie. She said it was the only way, he replied quietly. So you sold my home to make your wife happy? I screamed. She's my family now, he said. The phone slipped from my hand. Something inside me broke. But what they didn't know, what they never expected, was that I was not weak. As I walked slowly to my bedroom and knelt beside the bed, my hands reached for an old locked box I hadn't opened in years. At that exact moment, my phone rang again. I answered it. And what I heard next made my blood turn cold. The phone was shaking in my hand. I almost did not answer it. My heart was already hurting too much. I felt like if I heard one more bad thing, my chest would split open. But something inside me said, pick it up. So I did. Hello. I whispered. The voice on the other end was calm. Too calm. Good evening, ma'am, the man said. This is regarding the house on Willow Street. My knees gave way, and I sat heavily on the edge of my bed. Yes, I said slowly. What about it? I'm calling from the property office, he continued. We noticed you are still living in the house. My throat went dry. This is my home. There was a pause. I understand how you feel, he said. But legally, you have 30 days to vacate the property. 30 days. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because my mind could not accept it. Where do you expect me to go? I asked. That would be up to you, ma'am, he replied. We are just following the agreement signed by your son. My son. Those 2 words felt heavier than any stone. The call ended. I sat there in silence, staring at the wall. The ticking of the clock sounded louder than ever. Tick, tick, tick. Like it was counting down my life. 30 days to leave the house I had lived in for over 40 years. 30 days to disappear. I slowly looked down at the old locked box under my bed. It was small, dusty, and forgotten. I slid it out and placed it on my lap. This box held memories no one knew about. Inside were old documents, letters, receipts, and one envelope I had sworn never to open again unless I had no choice. That day, I had no choice. But before opening it, my mind drifted back to the past. Years ago, when my husband was still alive, he warned me. If anything ever happens to me, he said one night, do not trust anyone too easily. Not even family. I laughed then. I told him he was too serious. Now his words echoed in my head. After my son got married, his visits became less frequent. When he came, his wife always had something to say. You should sell this place, she would say. Living alone is dangerous at your age. You'll be better off somewhere smaller. I knew what she meant. She did not want me here. One afternoon, I heard them arguing outside. Why are you still supporting her? She snapped. She's your mother, my son replied weakly. And I'm your wife, she shouted. Choose. That was the day I knew I was losing my son. Still, I never believed he would do this. I trusted him. I trusted the boy I carried for 9 months. The boy I stayed awake for when he had a fever. The boy who once cried when I cut his hair too short. That boy signed my house away. That evening, my phone rang again. It was him. Mom, he said softly, like he was afraid. Don't call me that, I replied. There was silence. Please, he said. I didn't mean for it to happen this way. Then why did it? I asked. He sighed. She said it was the only option. The buyer offered good money. We needed it. And where do I fit into this plan? I asked. Another silence. You can come stay with us for a while, he finally said. I laughed again. Bitter. Sharp. With her? I asked. In a house where I am not wanted. She's just stressed, he said. You know how she is. Yes, I replied. I know exactly how she is. He promised to come by the next day to talk things through. After the call, I did not cry. I became very calm. That scared me more than tears. I opened the old locked box. Inside were papers I had hidden years ago. Papers that proved something very important. Something my son and his wife never bothered to ask about. Because they assumed I was just an old woman. Weak. Forgetful. Easy to fool. They were wrong. Very wrong. The next morning, my son arrived. He did not come alone. His wife was with him. She walked into my house like she owned it already. She looked around, smiling slightly, as if measuring what would soon be hers. We need to talk, she said. I nodded and sat down slowly. My son stood near the door, nervous, avoiding my eyes. I'll say this once, his wife continued. You need to pack your things. The buyer is serious. I looked at her calmly. And where do you think I will go? She shrugged. That's not our problem anymore. My son flinched, but said nothing. That hurt more than her words. I trusted you, I said, turning to him. He lowered his head. She's my wife, he muttered again, like it explained everything. I stood up, walked to my bedroom, and returned with the envelope from the box. I placed it gently on the table. Before you say another word, I said, you should see this. His wife laughed. More old papers. This is already settled. Open it, I said firmly. My son hesitated, then slowly opened the envelope. As he read the first page, his face changed. Color drained from his skin. What is this? He whispered. His wife leaned over his shoulder. Her smile disappeared. The room went completely silent. Because in that envelope was something they never expected. Something that could destroy everything they thought they had won. My son looked up at me, eyes wide with fear. Mom, he said. Why didn't you ever tell us? I folded my hands and looked straight at them. Because I was saving it, I replied. The wife took a step back. And that was when she realized. She had made a very big mistake. The room felt smaller. The air felt heavy. Both of them stood there, frozen, staring at the papers in my son's shaking hands. His wife's face had lost all its color. The confidence she walked in with was gone. What is this? My son asked again, his voice barely above a whisper. I did not rush to answer. I slowly sat down, folded my hands, and looked at them the way a mother looks at a child who has disappointed her deeply. You should read everything, I said calmly. Not just the first page. His wife swallowed hard. This doesn't change anything, she said, trying to sound strong. The house is already sold. I smiled. That smile made her uncomfortable. Oh, I said gently. It changes everything. My son continued reading. Page after page. His hands trembled more with every line. I could see the shock growing in his eyes. Finally, he looked up. The house, he stammered. It was never fully mine to sell? No, I replied. It never was. Years ago, after my husband died, I did something no one knew about. I protected myself. I protected my future. I placed the house under a special legal trust. My name was there. And another name too. A name no one expected. The house could not be sold without my full and clear permission. And I never gave it. His wife grabbed the papers from his hand and scanned them quickly. Her lips began to shake. This can't be true, she snapped. You're lying. I looked at her calmly. Call your lawyer. She froze. Because deep down, She already knew. My son dropped into the chair like his legs could no longer carry him. He held his head in his hands. "What have I done?" he whispered. I felt pain. But I did not feel pity. "You believed someone else over your own mother," I said softly. "You signed away what you didn't own." His wife turned to him angrily. "Why didn't you check properly?" she hissed. "Why did you rush?" He looked at her, shocked. "You said." "I said what I had to say," she shouted. "You promised me a better life." I watched them argue like strangers. This was the marriage he chose over me. That evening, they left without another word. The house was quiet again. But it was not peaceful. I knew this was not over. People like her do not give up easily. That night, I could not sleep. Every sound made me alert. I kept thinking about what she might do next. And I was right to worry. The next morning, I received a letter. Not from my son. From the buyer. It said they were aware of a small legal issue, but expected it to be resolved soon. Until then, I was warned not to interfere. I laughed. Interfere? This was my home. But I also knew something dangerous was happening. They were trying to force things quickly, before the truth fully came out. Later that day, my phone rang again. This time, it was my son's wife. "I want to talk," she said sharply. "Alone?" "No," I replied. "Anything you want to say, you can say in front of him." She paused, then said, "Fine. We're coming over." When they arrived, she looked different. Softer. Calmer. Too calm. She sat across from me and sighed. "Let's be reasonable," she said. "We can work something out." I raised an eyebrow. "We?" I asked. She smiled tightly. "You're old. You don't need a big house. We can give you some money. You move somewhere small. Everyone wins." My son looked uncomfortable but stayed quiet. "You sold my house without my knowledge," I said. "And now you want me to agree?" She leaned forward. "Think carefully. Fighting this will only bring stress. Court. Lawyers. At your age, is it worth it?" I looked at her and finally understood something very clearly. She did not see me as human. She saw me as an obstacle. I stood up slowly. "This conversation is over," I said. Her eyes darkened. "Then don't blame us for what happens next." That sentence chilled me. "What does that mean?" I asked. She stood too. "It means you should stop pretending you're in control." They left again. This time, my son did not look back. 2 days later, something happened that pushed everything to a new level. I came back from the market and found the front door open. My heart jumped. I rushed inside. Drawers were open. Papers were scattered. My bedroom looked like a storm had passed through it. Someone had searched my house. Someone was looking for something. I checked the locked box. It was still there. But the envelope was gone. My legs went weak. They had taken it. The proof. The very thing protecting me. I called the police. They came, looked around, and asked questions. But there were no signs of forced entry. The door had been opened with a key. Only 3 people had keys. Me, my son, and his wife. That night, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered carefully. A voice spoke, low and confident. "You should stop this," the voice said. "You're making things difficult." "Who is this?" I asked. "You know exactly who I am," the voice replied. My blood ran cold. "You took my papers," I said. The voice laughed softly. "Those papers won't save you anymore." The line went dead. I stood there in the dark, holding my phone, realizing something terrible. They were no longer just trying to please a wife. They were trying to silence me. And I knew one thing for sure. If I didn't act fast, I was about to lose a lot more than just my house. I did not sleep that night. Every small sound made my heart jump. The wind outside sounded like footsteps. The old house creaked like someone was walking through it. I sat on my bed, fully dressed, with the light on until morning. They had crossed a line. Selling my house behind my back was cruel. But breaking into my home and stealing my papers? That was war. When the sun finally rose, I stood up slowly and looked around my room. The walls were the same. The furniture was the same. But I was not the same woman who went to bed the night before. Fear was slowly turning into something else. Something stronger. I made myself tea and sat at the kitchen table. My hands were steady now. My mind was clear. They thought taking the envelope meant they had one. They were wrong. Because the envelope was not the only copy. Years ago, when I placed the house under protection, the lawyer had warned me. Never keep everything in one place, he said. If someone wants to hurt you, they'll look for papers first. I listened. What they stole was important. But it was not the only truth. After breakfast, I picked up my phone and made a call I never thought I would make again. The line rang twice. Then a familiar voice answered. I was wondering when you'd call, the voice said. I need help, I replied. I know, the voice said calmly. I've been waiting. Later that day, my son came alone. He looked tired. Older. Like guilt was eating him from the inside. I didn't know she would do that, he said quietly, standing near the door. You gave her the key, I replied. He lowered his head. She said she just wanted to talk to you again, he murmured. And you believed her, I said. Silence filled the room. I didn't know about the break-in, he said. I swear. I looked at him carefully. For the first time in days, I saw fear in his eyes. She's scared, he added. The buyer is threatening legal action. Lawyers are calling non-stop. Good, I said. He looked up sharply. Good. Yes, I replied. Because the truth doesn't fear the light. He hesitated. She wants you to drop everything. She says this fight will ruin us all. I stood up slowly and walked closer to him. Listen carefully, I said. I didn't start this. But I will finish it. He swallowed hard. Mom, he whispered. Please, she's my wife. And I'm your mother, I replied. The woman you watched being pushed aside. Tears filled his eyes, but I did not move to comfort him. Not this time. He left without another word. That evening, something unexpected happened. A car pulled up in front of my house. A woman stepped out. She was older than me, dressed simply, with kind eyes and a firm walk. She had not visited in many years. When I opened the door, she smiled softly. You look stronger than I remember, she said. So do you, I replied. We hugged. She sat at my table and placed a folder in front of me. I heard about the sale, she said. And about the stolen papers. You always hear everything, I replied. She smiled faintly. Some habits never die. She opened the folder. Inside were copies. Certified copies. Stamped. Signed. Official. My protection. My proof. They underestimated you, she said. That happens when people think age means weakness. Relief washed over me, but I did not relax. Is it enough? I asked. She nodded. More than enough. But you must be ready. For what? For them to fight back harder, she replied. People who taste money don't let go easily. That night, I slept for the first time since the break-in. Not peacefully, but prepared. 2 days later, the blow came. I received a legal notice. Not just from the buyer, but from my son's wife. She was suing me. Claiming I manipulated my son. Claiming I was mentally unfit. Claiming the house should belong to them. I read the words slowly. They wanted to declare me incapable. They wanted to take my voice. My freedom. My life. My phone rang. It was my son again. She says it's the only way, he said, voice shaking. She says if you're declared unwell, the court will side with us. With her, I corrected. He started crying. I never wanted this, he sobbed. I closed my eyes. You should have thought about that before choosing silence, I said. After the call, I sat alone for a long time. I thought about every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every prayer. And something inside me hardened. They wanted to paint me as weak, so I would show them strength. The next morning, I dressed carefully. I wore my best clothes. I brushed my hair neatly. I stood tall. Then I walked into the lawyer's office. I placed the folder on the table. And I said the words that would change everything. I am ready to fight. The lawyer smiled slowly. Good, she said. Because what they did is not just wrong. She leaned forward. It's criminal. As I stepped back into the sunlight, my phone buzzed. A message. From my son's wife. This ends now. Or it ends badly. I stared at the screen. Then I smiled. Because she had no idea. This was only the beginning. The message stayed on my phone screen for a long time. This ends now. Or it ends badly. I did not reply. People who threaten do not want peace. They want fear. And fear was something I no longer had. That morning, the house felt different. Not weak. Not old. It felt alert. Like it was watching with me. I walked through each room slowly, touching the walls, the door frames, the windows. This is my home, I whispered. No one was taking it from me without a fight. At the lawyer's office, the air smelled like paper and seriousness. My lawyer read through everything carefully. She did not rush. She did not interrupt. When she finally looked up, her face was firm. They forged trust where there was none, she said. They pressured you. They misrepresented documents. And now they're trying to declare you unfit. She paused. That's abuse. I nodded. What happens now? I asked. We respond, she said. Strongly. She explained everything in simple words so I could understand. How the sale could be frozen. How the buyer could be forced to step back. How my son's wife had made serious mistakes. She underestimated you, the lawyer said. And that will cost her. As I stood to leave, my phone rang. It was my son. I just got served papers, he said quietly. So did I replied. She's furious, he whispered. She says you're trying to destroy our marriage. I took a deep breath. She destroyed it the moment she taught you to betray your own mother, I said. He started crying again. I don't know how this got so far, he said. I closed my eyes. Because you kept choosing silence, I replied. The first court date came faster than I expected. Walking into the courthouse, my heart pounded. But my steps were steady. I saw them sitting across the room. My son looked small, broken. His wife looked confident, smiling slightly, like someone who believed the world would always bend for her. When she saw me, her smile disappeared. Good. The judge listened carefully. Papers were exchanged. Dates were set. Nothing was decided yet. But something important happened. For the first time, the law was listening to me. Outside the courtroom, she walked up to me. You're embarrassing us, she hissed quietly. You embarrassed yourself, I replied calmly. This house will ruin you, she snapped. No, I said. Your greed will. Her eyes burned with anger. Days passed. Then weeks. And slowly, cracks began to appear. The buyer backed out. The money they were counting on froze. Bills piled up. Late one evening, my son showed up again. He looked exhausted. She's blaming me for everything, he said. She says I didn't handle you properly. I stared at him. Is that what you think? I asked. He shook his head. I didn't think she'd go this far, he whispered. She talks about you like you're an enemy. I said nothing, because deep inside I was tired. Tired of teaching him lessons he refused to learn. Then something unexpected happened. I received a call from someone I did not know. My name is Karen, the woman said. I'm calling about your daughter-in-law. My heart tightened. Yes, I said carefully. I used to work with her, the woman continued. I saw your case online. What about it? I asked. There was a pause. You're not the first person she's done this to. The words sent a chill through me. She did the same thing to her former boss's mother, Karen said. Pushed her out. Took control. Left her with nothing. My hands shook. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Because I couldn't sleep, she said. And because I have proof. My lawyer's eyes widened when I told her. This changes everything, she said. We arranged to meet. The next day, Karen arrived with documents, messages, and old emails. A pattern. Control. Lies. Manipulation. She targets older women, my lawyer said quietly. That night, I sat alone in my house, thinking. This was no longer just about my home. It was about stopping her. When the next court date arrived, we were ready. Her confidence was gone. My son looked like a man drowning. When the judge reviewed the new evidence, the room grew silent. This is serious, the judge said. Her lawyer whispered urgently to her. She avoided my eyes. The judge set a new date. But this time, the balance had shifted. Outside the courtroom, my son stopped me. Mom, he said, voice breaking. I'm sorry. I looked at him. I don't need your words, I replied. I need your truth. He nodded slowly. I will tell the court everything, he said. My heart skipped. Behind him, his wife watched, her face pale with fear. She finally understood. She was losing control. That night, my phone buzzed again. A message from her. You think you've won? This isn't over. I stared at the screen, calm. Because now I knew something she didn't. The truth was no longer hidden. And the next move would decide everything. The night after my son promised to tell the truth, I sat alone in the living room with the lights off. I did not feel victory. I felt warning. People like her do not accept defeat quietly. They twist. They threaten. They lie harder. And I knew the next move would not be clean. The next morning, my phone rang before sunrise. It was my son. She didn't come home last night, he said in a shaky voice. I sat up straight. What do you mean? She packed a bag, he said. She said she needed space. Then she left. I closed my eyes. This was not space. This was strategy. Did she say where she was going? I asked. No, he replied. But she was angry. Very angry. I took a deep breath. Listen carefully, I said. Do not sign anything. Do not speak to anyone without your lawyer. There was silence. Mom, he said softly. I'm scared. I did not comfort him. Because this fear was overdue. 2 days later, the attack came. Not to me. To my reputation. I woke up to phone calls from neighbors, distant relatives, even people I had not spoken to in years. Are you okay? Is it true? We heard something terrible. By noon, I understood. She had started telling her story. Her version. She told people I was confused. That I was sick. That I did not remember signing the papers. That I was being manipulated by outsiders. She painted herself as the victim. And my son as a helpless man trapped between two unstable women. That hurt more than anything. Because for years, I had lived quietly. I never fought. I never complained. I never asked for sympathy. Now my name was being dragged through whispers. But I did not panic. I called my lawyer. She's starting a smear campaign, I said. My lawyer was calm. Good, she replied. That means she's desperate. That afternoon, something else arrived. Another letter. This one was worse. It was a request for a mental evaluation, filed by her lawyer. They wanted the court to officially examine my mind. They wanted to label me unfit. I sat at the table, holding the paper with steady hands. So this is how you plan to win, I whispered. By erasing me. My lawyer arrived that evening. They're pushing hard, she said, because they're running out of options. Will the court approve it? I asked. Possibly, she replied. But we will welcome it. I looked at her. Welcome it. She nodded. You are clear. Strong. A full evaluation will destroy her claim. For the first time, I smiled. Then let them test me, I said. The evaluation was scheduled quickly. I walked into the building with my head high. The doctor asked me questions. Simple ones. Hard ones. Painful ones. What day is it? Who is the president? Do you know why you're here? Do you feel confused often? Do you remember signing any documents? I answered calmly, truthfully. When they asked about my son, my voice shook for the first time. Yes, I said. I remember trusting him. That was all. When it was over, the doctor looked at me with respect. You are fully capable, he said. There is no sign of mental decline. I thanked him and walked out. That attempt had failed. But she was not done. That night, my son came to see me. He looked worse than ever. She's threatening me, he said. With what? I asked. She says if I testify against her, she'll destroy me, he replied. She says she'll tell people things. Make sure I lose everything. I studied his face. And will you let her? I asked. He shook his head slowly. I've already lost everything, he said. My home. My peace. My mother. My chest tightened. I'll tell the truth, he said. No matter what she does. That was the first time in years I saw the boy I raised. 2 days before the next court date, the biggest twist came. My lawyer called me early in the morning. She made a mistake, she said. What kind? I asked. The kind that ends cases, she replied. She explained that in her rush to pressure my son, his wife had sent him messages. Angry messages. Threatening messages. Messages where she admitted everything. Selling the house without my permission. Pushing him to lie. Planning to remove me legally. And my son had saved them all. She handed us proof with her own hands, my lawyer said. I closed my eyes. The truth has a strange way of surfacing. The night before court, I sat alone again. This time, I felt calm. Not because I had won, but because I had stopped fighting to survive. I was fighting to stand. My phone buzzed. One last message from her. You think this court will save you? When this is over, you'll be alone. I typed slowly. I have always stood alone. That's why I'm still standing. I placed the phone down. Tomorrow, everything would change. Because tomorrow, the mask would finally fall. And once the truth was spoken out loud, there would be no going back. The morning of the court hearing felt different. Not heavy. Not fearful. Sharp. I woke up before the sun, washed my face, and looked at myself in the mirror. The woman staring back at me was old, yes, but her eyes were clear, strong, awake. I'm ready, I whispered. Outside, the sky was gray. The kind of gray that feels like something big is about to happen. The courtroom was full. Too full. People whispered. Heads turned. Some recognized me from the rumors that had been spreading. Some looked at me with pity. Others with curiosity. I did not look at them. I looked straight ahead. Then I saw her. She walked in like she still owned the world. Head high, chin lifted, dressed neatly, confident. But this time, something was off. Her eyes kept moving. She was watching everyone. That was not confidence. That was fear pretending to be power. My son entered behind her. He did not sit beside her. He sat alone. That spoke louder than words. When the judge entered, the room went silent. The case began. Her lawyer spoke first. He painted a picture. An elderly woman confused by grief. A son trying to help. A wife caught in the middle. He talked about misunderstandings and family disagreements. Then he requested full control of the house be granted to the couple. I listened without reacting. Because lies sound loud at first. But they collapse quickly. Then my lawyer stood. She spoke slowly, clearly. She told the story the way it truly happened. About pressure. About deception. About documents signed under false explanation. About a house sold without permission. She placed evidence on the table. Copies of protected ownership papers. Proof of the break-in. Phone records. Witness statements. The judge listened carefully. Then came the moment that changed everything. My lawyer turned to the judge and said, "We would like to submit direct messages sent by the defendant to her husband." The room stirred. Her face went pale. The messages were read out loud. One by one. "You will sign the papers today or I will make your life hell." She's old. No one will believe her. Once the house is sold, she'll have no choice but to leave. If she fights, we'll say she's not well. Gasps filled the room. My son stared at the floor. Her lawyer froze. The judge's expression hardened. She tried to speak. Those messages were taken out of context," she stammered. The judge raised a hand. "Be quiet," he said. The room went silent again. Then the judge did something unexpected. He turned to my son. "Did you know about these plans?" he asked. My son stood up slowly. His voice shook, but it did not break. "Yes," he said. At first, my heart stopped. Then he continued. "She told me it was the only way. That my mother would be fine. That she wouldn't fight." He swallowed hard. I was wrong. He lifted his head and looked straight at the judge. "I lied. I signed papers I didn't understand. I helped sell a house that was not mine. And I stayed silent when my mother was hurt." The room was frozen. Tears rolled down his face. "I take responsibility," he said. "All of it." I closed my eyes. That confession broke something inside me. But it also healed something I thought was dead. She jumped to her feet. "This is ridiculous," she shouted. "He's being manipulated. She's turned him against me." The judge's voice thundered. "Sit down." She did not. She kept talking, yelling, pointing at me. "She planned this. She's pretending to be weak. She's ruining my life." The judge slammed his gavel. "Enough." Security stepped closer. Her lawyer whispered urgently, but she did not listen. She had lost control. And when she lost control, the truth poured out. "I deserved that house," she screamed. "I worked for a better life. I wasn't going to let an old woman stand in my way." The room exploded with noise. The judge stood. "That is enough," he said coldly. "You have said more than enough." She realized too late. Her mouth had destroyed her case. The judge called for a short break. I stepped outside into the hallway, my legs shaking for the first time that day. My son followed. He stood in front of me, eyes red. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know sorry is not enough." I looked at him. "I didn't need perfection," I said quietly. "I needed honesty." He nodded. "I'll accept whatever happens," he said. I touched his arm once. Just once. Then I walked back inside. When the judge returned, his decision was clear. The house sale was frozen. The buyer was dismissed. An investigation was ordered. And a restraining order was placed. She would not come near me again. The judge looked directly at her. You did not just overstep, he said. You abused trust. You exploited family. And you attempted to silence someone who had every right to speak. She stood there, shaking. For the first time. She looked small. As they escorted her out, she turned and looked at me. Her eyes were full of hate. But also fear. Because she knew something now. She had lost. But I knew better. This was not the end. Because what happens after the courtroom is often more dangerous than what happens inside it. As I walked out into the daylight, my phone buzzed. One new message. From an unknown number. You humiliated her. Now you'll pay. My heart tightened. I looked up at the sky. And I knew. The fight was not over yet. The message stayed on my phone like a wound that would not close. You humiliated her. Now you'll pay. I did not know who sent it. But I knew who it came from. People like her never fight alone. When they lose control, they borrow strength from shadows. I put the phone down slowly and looked around my house. For the first time since the court hearing, I felt something close to fear again. Not the fear of losing my home. The fear of what desperate people are capable of. That night, I did not turn off the lights. I locked every door. Every window. I placed a chair against my bedroom door, even though I knew it would not stop someone who truly wanted to enter. But it helped my mind. Sleep did not come easily. Every sound outside made my heart jump. A car passing. A dog barking. Wind brushing the trees. I kept thinking of the judge's words. You abused trust. She would not accept that. She would want revenge. The next morning, my son came early. He looked shaken. She's gone, he said. Gone where? I asked. I don't know, he replied. She cleared out her things. Her phone is off. Her lawyer won't answer. That made my stomach twist. People do not disappear when they accept defeat. They disappear when they are planning something. She blames you, he added quietly. I know, I replied. He looked at me, guilt heavy in his eyes. I never thought she would turn into this, he said. I thought she just wanted a better life. She wanted control, I said. There's a difference. He nodded slowly. I'll stay nearby, he said. In case you need me. I did not respond. Not because I did not hear him. But because trust, once broken, does not grow back overnight. That afternoon, something strange happened. A man knocked on my door. Not a stranger this time. A neighbor. I thought you should know, he said nervously. Someone was asking questions about you. My heart skipped. What kind of questions? I asked. About your routine, he replied. When you leave the house. When you come back. Whether you live alone. Cold spread through my body. Did you recognize them? I asked. He shook his head. No. But they weren't from around here. After he left, I sat down slowly. This was no longer just anger. This was planning. I called my lawyer immediately. This is serious, she said. You need to be careful. Save every message. Report every incident. Can the court protect me? I asked. Yes, she replied. But protection comes after proof. I understood. I needed to stay alert. 2 days later, the first sign appeared. I came home from the market and found a note taped to my door. No name. No signature. Just 3 words. Leave or suffer. My hands shook. I tore it down and locked the door behind me. That night, I barely ate. My mind kept going back to something the judge said. What happens after the courtroom is often more dangerous. He was right. Then came the call. Unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. You should have stayed quiet, a man's voice said. My heart pounded. Who are you? I asked. That doesn't matter, he replied. What matters is that you made someone very angry. I told the truth, I said. The man laughed softly. Truth doesn't protect you from consequences. The line went dead. I stood there, frozen. They were not trying to scare me anymore. They were warning me. That evening, my son came again. I think she hired someone, he said quietly. I looked at him sharply. Why would you think that? She asked me once, he admitted. During the case. If I knew people who could handle problems quietly. My blood ran cold. And you said? I asked. I said no, he replied quickly. I told her to stop talking like that. But the damage was done. She had already planted the idea. That night, I made a decision. I would not run. I would not hide. But I would prepare. I called the woman who helped me before. The one who brought the copies. The one who always seemed to know more than she said. I think I'm in danger, I told her. There was a pause. Then she said, I was afraid you'd say that. What do you mean? I asked. She contacted someone I know, she replied. Someone who doesn't scare easily. My heart thudded. And? I asked. And they refused, she said. That's why she's angry. I closed my eyes. She's not done, the woman added. And neither should you be. The next morning, something happened that made everything real. Very real. I woke up to the smell of smoke. My heart leaped into my throat. I rushed to the window. Outside, near the back fence, black marks stained the ground. Something had been burned. A warning fire. Not big enough to destroy. Just big enough to threaten. I stepped back slowly, my hands shaking. This was no longer about a house. This was about my life. As I stood there, my phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, no words. Just a picture. A photo of my house. Taken from across the street. Taken recently. I dropped the phone. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. They were watching me. And whatever they were planning next would not be small. I did not pick up the phone. The picture of my house was enough. Someone had stood across the street. Someone had watched me. Someone wanted me to know I was no longer alone. I locked the door and slid down against it, my back pressed to the wood, my heart pounding so loud I thought it would give me away. For the first time since this nightmare began, my hands would not stop shaking. This was no longer a legal fight. This was personal. I called my lawyer immediately. This has gone too far, I said. They're watching my house. She did not argue. You need to leave for a while, she said firmly. Not because you're weak. Because staying could be dangerous. I won't run, I replied. I didn't say run, she said. I said relocate. Temporarily. Somewhere safe. I closed my eyes. This house had survived decades of storms. Births. Deaths. Love. Loss. Leaving it felt like surrender. But I also knew something else. Dead people don't win battles. That afternoon, my son came again. When I showed him the photo, his face drained of color. Oh my God, he whispered. This is my fault. I looked at him. This is the result of silence, I said. But blaming yourself won't fix it. He rubbed his face with both hands. She's capable of anything, he said. I didn't know that when I married her. I swear I didn't. I believe you, I replied. That surprised him. But belief doesn't erase consequences, I added. He nodded slowly. I'll stay with you tonight, he said. I won't leave you alone. I did not refuse. That night, we sat in the living room with all the lights on. We did not talk much. Words felt heavy. Around midnight, we heard it. A sound outside. Footsteps. Slow. Careful. My heart stopped. My son stood up quietly and looked through the curtain. "There's someone near the fence," he whispered. My mouth went dry. The footsteps stopped. Then a shadow moved past the window. My son reached for his phone. "Don't," I whispered. "Not yet." The shadow lingered. Then, just as quietly as it came, it disappeared. We did not sleep at all. The next morning, we went to the police. I showed them everything. The messages. The photo. The burned ground. The late-night presence. The officer listened carefully. "This looks like intimidation," he said. "Possibly worse." "Can you protect me?" I asked. He sighed. "We can patrol. We can document. But unless there's direct harm." His voice trailed off. I understood. Protection often comes after damage, not before. Later that day, my lawyer called with new information. "She's panicking," she said. "Her accounts are being investigated." Her lawyer dropped her. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. Desperate people are the most dangerous. "She has nothing left to lose," my lawyer added. That settled it. I packed a small bag. Just essentials. I walked through the house one last time, touching the walls, the table, the doorframe where I once marked my child's height. "I'll be back," I whispered. I had to believe that. I stayed with a friend that night. The house was quiet. Safe. Too quiet. At exactly 2:17 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I stared at it. Then I answered. "You left," a woman's voice said. My blood ran cold. "I told you this wasn't over," she continued. "You think hiding will save you?" I could hear her breathing. Heavy. Uncontrolled. "You ruined my life," she hissed. "Now I'll ruin yours." "You did this to yourself," I replied, my voice shaking despite my effort. She laughed. A laugh full of rage. "Then why do I still have your house?" she asked. My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" I demanded. She paused. Long enough to hurt. "Go check," she said softly. The line went dead. I called my son immediately. He answered on the first ring. "She says she still has the house," I said. "What?" he replied. "That's impossible." "Go there," I said. Now. Minutes felt like hours. I paced the room, my chest tight, my thoughts racing. Then my phone rang again. It was my son. His voice was shaking. "Mom," he said. "The locks are changed." My knees buckled. "What?" I whispered. "There's a notice on the door," he continued. "It says the property is under emergency possession." "Emergency possession? That's illegal," I said. "I know," he replied. "But she's done something. I don't know how." I closed my eyes. She had found another way. Another lie. Another trick. And this time, she had acted fast. As I stood there, trying to understand how everything could flip overnight, my lawyer called. Her voice was urgent. "She filed something false," she said. "Claiming you abandoned the property and posed a danger." My heart sank. "They granted temporary control," she added. "We can fight it, but it takes time," I finished. "Yes," she said quietly. Time. The one thing I didn't have. As I stared at the wall, my phone buzzed one last time. A message from her. "I told you to leave. Now I'm inside." My breath caught in my throat. Because the house I loved, the house I built my life in, was no longer mine tonight. And I had no idea what she planned to do next. I did not cry. Not when I heard the locks were changed. Not when I was told the house was under emergency possession. Not even when I imagined her walking through my rooms, touching my things. I felt something colder than tears. Focus. She's bluffing, I said to myself. She always bluffs. But this time, the bluff had teeth. I met my lawyer before sunrise. She looked tired, angry, determined. What she filed was full of lies, she said, spreading papers across the table. She claimed you abandoned the property. Claimed neighbors feared for their safety. Claimed you were unstable and a risk. That's insane, I said. Yes, she replied. And dangerous. She explained that the order was temporary. Fragile. Built on false statements. But we need proof, she said. Hard proof. Fast. Then I'll give it to you, I replied. She looked at me sharply. How? I'm going back, I said. She shook her head immediately. No. That's too risky. She's inside my house, I said quietly. If she plans to destroy evidence or set a trap, I need to know. This isn't a movie, she snapped. She's unstable. So am I replied. When someone steals your life. She stared at me for a long moment. Then she sighed. If you go, you do not go alone. My son drove us. Neither of us spoke. When we reached the street, my heart clenched. My house looked the same. That was the worst part. Same windows. Same porch. Same garden. But the feeling was wrong. Like a body without a soul. We parked across the street. There, my son whispered. The curtains moved. She was inside. Watching. Waiting. We approached the door. The new lock gleamed in the sunlight. A symbol of her control. My son raised his hand to knock. The door opened before he touched it. She stood there. Smiling. Calm. Too calm. Well, she said. Look who came back. I stepped forward. Get out of my house. She laughed softly. Your house. She pointed to the notice taped beside the door. Read it, she said. I did. The words blurred, but I understood enough. Temporary control. Safety concerns. Pending review. She leaned closer. The law agrees with me. For now. My son clenched his fists. You lied. She turned on him instantly. I protected myself, she snapped. From her. She pointed at me like I was a disease. She's dangerous, she continued loudly. Unstable. Obsessive. Look at her, still clinging to bricks and dust. I stepped inside without asking. She froze. You can't just walk in, she said. I can, I replied. Because I never left. The house smelled different. Her perfume. It made my stomach turn. She followed me from room to room, talking non-stop. I cleaned, she said. Threw away useless things. Old papers. Junk. My heart skipped. What papers? I asked calmly. She smiled. Anything that could confuse you. I walked to my bedroom. The drawers were open. My clothes moved. My box, my locked box, was gone. Where is it? I asked. She shrugged. If you mean that old thing under your bed, I disposed of it. Disposed. My legs went weak. You destroyed evidence, my son shouted. She laughed. Prove it. Then she leaned in close to me. You should have stayed gone, she whispered. Now this ends tonight. That was when I noticed it. A smell. Sharp. Unfamiliar. Gas. I froze. Do you smell that? I asked quietly. She smiled wider. I told you, she said. This ends badly. My son's eyes widened. Are you insane? She stepped back toward the kitchen. I opened a valve, she said calmly. Just a little. Accidents happen in old houses. My heart pounded. You'll kill yourself, I said. She shrugged. At least I won't lose. That was when I knew. She had crossed into madness. Get out, I said to my son. Now. He hesitated. Go, I screamed. He ran. I stayed. She stared at me, surprised. You think I'm afraid to die in this house? I said softly. I've lived in it longer than you've lived anywhere. She backed away slowly. You're bluffing, she said. No, I replied. I'm choosing. I walked toward the back door and flung it open. Fresh air rushed in. I grabbed my phone and dialed emergency services. She lunged for me. Don't, she screamed. Too late. Sirens filled the air minutes later. Police. Firefighters. Neighbors gathered. She was dragged out kicking and screaming, shouting lies, crying, laughing, breaking apart all at once. As they led her away, she locked eyes with me. This isn't over, she spat. You hear me? I said nothing. Because for the first time, I believed her. That night, I did not return to the house. It was sealed. Investigated. The gas line confirmed tampered. Criminal charges discussed. But something else haunted me. When the officer handed me a bag of items recovered from the trash, my heart sank. My box was there. Broken. Empty. Everything inside, gone. Every copy. Every safeguard. Destroyed. Or so it seemed. As I stared at the shattered lock in my hands, my lawyer's phone buzzed. She answered. Listened. Then looked at me slowly. They found something, she said. What? I asked. She swallowed. A document, she replied. Filed years ago. Forgotten. Hidden in a place no one checked. My breath caught. Is it enough? I whispered. She nodded once. It's more than enough, she said. Then her phone buzzed again. Her face changed. What is it? I asked. She looked at me with a mix of fear and urgency. She's been released on bail, she said. And she's missing. My chest tightened. Missing. The house. The fire. The threats. This was not finished. Not yet. Because the most dangerous part of a storm is the quiet before it returns. The night she disappeared, I did not sleep. Not because of fear, but because I finally understood something very clearly. This story was never just about a house. It was about power. About silence. About what happens when people think an old woman has nothing left to fight with. They were wrong. 3 days passed. Then 5. No sign of her. The police searched. Asked questions. Knocked on doors. Her phone remained off. Her accounts were frozen. Her name became a problem no one wanted to touch. But deep down, I knew something. She would come back. People like her always do. They cannot accept losing. On the 7th day, the call came. Not from an unknown number. From the police. We found her, the officer said. My heart tightened. Where? In a motel 2 towns away, he replied. She tried to use a false name. I closed my eyes. She didn't get far, I said quietly. No, he replied. And this time she talked. That was the moment everything ended. She talked about the lies. About the fake emergency filing. About the threats. About the gas. And most importantly, she talked about the money. She admitted why she pushed my son to sell the house so quickly. Not for debt. Not for survival. But because she had already promised the money to someone else. Someone dangerous. Someone she could not escape. That confession changed everything. The charges became heavier. Fraud. Intimidation. Endangerment. Attempted harm. This was no longer a family matter. It was criminal. The final hearing came quietly. No shouting. No drama. No confidence left in her eyes. She did not look at me. She could not. The judge spoke firmly. The false emergency order was erased. The sale was permanently cancelled. The house was returned to me, fully and legally protected. And then the judge said words I will never forget. This court recognizes not just ownership, but injustice. She was taken away. This time, not screaming, just empty. Outside the courthouse, my son stood beside me. Not behind me. Not hiding. Beside me. I didn't expect this, he said softly. Which part? I asked. That you wouldn't leave, he replied. That you wouldn't break. I looked at him. The reaction you expected, I said, was silence. He nodded. And the reaction you gave, he whispered, changed everything. I moved back into my house 1 week later. I cleaned it slowly. Not because it was dirty, but because I wanted to reclaim every corner. The walls felt warm again. The air felt safe. I placed a new lock on the door. Stronger. Smarter. Permanent. My son visits now. Not often. But honestly. Trust does not return in a rush. It returns in pieces. And that is enough. If there is one thing I learned, it is this. Never underestimate someone just because they are quiet. Never mistake age for weakness. And never assume silence means surrender. They sold my house behind my back. They thought I would cry. They thought I would disappear. They thought I would beg. Instead, I fought. And I won. Now listen to me carefully. If this story touched your heart, if it made you angry, if it reminded you of someone you know, please like this video so more people can hear stories like this. Subscribe to this channel for more powerful, emotional, real-life stories. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next one. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Do you believe family should ever betray family for money? Your voice matters. Because sometimes, the strongest reaction is refusing to disappear.